It's our weekly sports episode. Well, you might as well call it our infamous podcast about sports and stuff. Where on this podcast you get to hear a little bit of information about what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in the video game world, a little bit of the technology information, get a little bit of a music knowledge chat, two of our personal faves that we do on the show, the artist spotlight, and of course the infamous ass of the week. So stick around. You might actually enjoy the episode. All right, so between me leaving my microphone at home, my co-host thought he was going to be late, but he actually beat me here as I was attempting to go get water from a water machine that we both have been fighting. The past is back with yet another episode. Got Dimitri with me again.
Back at it again.
We're back at it again. I'm going to go ahead and give an early disclaimer because we've laughed about it because it occurred. There may be a brief mute. If the mute occurs, I may just mute it and then go back and edit it. But where I do my podcast, they're actually having a Comic-Con event. So it may put a slight delay or damper on, well, I can say damper, but it'll put a slight delay on some recordings here and there of the show. But we'll do our best to kind of go through it. Co-host, he said he may have a few coughing sessions. So I told him it's all good. We already know what time it is. Can't stop life. So we have a very, I don't want to say, this is a packed podcast this week, but it's kind of a chill podcast for unique reasons because the draft was a story. The main meat of the podcast this week is going to be about the NBA draft.
Basketball heavy.
Yeah, it's going to be basketball heavy. But even better is because of the draft, there were a lot of side stories that occurred that were related to the draft and unrelated to the draft. We'll go into that. And coincidentally enough, our ass of the week kind of blended in as a unique story revolving it. So we're not gonna waste any time. We're gonna get on into it. The NBA draft. So all right. So before we go any further, because we want to make sure I put this in, because I don't believe we talked about it. It wasn't addressed last week, so I want to be sure we get this out first. Initially, Boston had the first pick. Philadelphia had the third pick. They decided to switch picks because allegedly or supposedly Boston's goal was to get Jason Tatum.
Yeah, they said whoever they can get at 1, they can get at 3.
Okay.
So why not get more assets out of it?
Right.
That was their thought process with it. I feel like they could have done more. Made more trades but they keep stockpiling assets is what they call it.
Yeah. So this is now this is referring to Philly, right? Philly. This is Philly's continuation of trusting the process. So
yeah, they can trust in the process. However, they're kind of making a little. They're getting a little core together with Markelle Fultz now.
Yeah,
who they picked up at number 1.
Right.
So they got Markelle Fultz with Ben Simmons as well, along with Joel Embiid.
Yep.
Also, Dario Saric did pretty well last year as well too.
He did.
But I'm saying the Celtics, they made more of a. They got like another asset. They got a conditional pick for next year. It's protected if it falls between 2 and 5.
Yeah.
Or if it does fall between 2 and 5, they'll get a 2019 first round pick.
Okay.
And then they stand pat. They didn't make another trade, which a lot of people thought they maybe could have made a trade for either Jimmy Butler, which we will talk about later.
Yes.
Or Paul George, which we also will talk about later.
It's so many. Again, I'm going to reiterate. There are a lot of side stories in this draft, and you'll understand why, or in this podcast, and you'll understand why as we get into that. I got a lot of things I'm gonna say about the draft. So I'm gonna have in the show notes. You're gonna see the actual picks as they were chosen for the draft, and I also have a listing that shows grade by grade, like of each player and how they were picked based on their teams. I always like to say Bleacher Report can be a little heavy on stories, but for this one, I feel like this might be one of those. Okay, I think they got it right. My surprise pick is going to surprise you, and it's actually Bam Adebayo.
Oh, surprising? Yeah, I was definitely surprised by that pick as well, too.
Yeah, because, I mean, they had him projected as like a late first, early second.
They said that he did surprise a lot of people with his pre-draft workouts because his jump shot was falling pretty well.
Okay.
Because he didn't really shoot a lot in college just because the system that he was in.
Right. They didn't use him for that. They had him kind of on the block.
Yeah, because he's definitely very athletic, and if you see him, like, he's definitely a big guy. He kind of has like Dwight Howard's shoulders, kind of. Right. So he's definitely, and whenever he's around the hoop, he has the name Bam for a reason.
Yeah, because he can finish.
Dunk it. Yeah, every time. I was also surprised with Malik Monk fell as far as he did.
Yeah, let's talk about that. All right, so disclaimer, because I always like to be fair. We're not doing this as a strictly, we're going to talk about only Kentucky players, because you notice we skipped De'Aaron Fox, because he was kind of already projected to be top 5 anyway, so that's a given. But, yeah, Malik Monk fell very low. I don't know. I think what they said, from what I understand with him, it was his size.
Yeah, I feel like if he was 6'6", 6'7",
yes,
he would have been a top 5 pick easily.
Yeah, because, I mean, being 6'3", you're looked at in the NBA. And we always talk about this because we joked about this last week, I believe, with the Kevin Durant 7-foot story. He may be a little bit taller, give or take, but even still, as a 2-guard, his biggest asset is going to be his jump shot.
His jump shot falls very nicely, though, and he's very athletic as well, too.
Yeah.
I think later on down the road, he's can actually end up being... Like, say, like, you know how, like, if you do a redraft of a draft, like, previously?
Yeah.
I bet he would be one of the ones that actually does go up.
Right.
Going on later on, because I feel like he can create shots. He may be like a Jamal Crawford type.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So.
Now, I will address something that one of my friends did mention in the sports group that I'm in, and I may not find it, but I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit, because it was talking about how he didn't feel this was a high-quality draft. And the reason the reason that was stated... because I know it's gonna be like, what made you say that, or what made him address that? The reason he felt that way was because there were a lot of like, it's an odd draft when your NCAA Naismith Player of the Year goes second round. Frank Mason went second round to
number 34 to Sacramento.
Sacramento, yeah.
I like to disagree with that, though.
I'm not. Trust me. This is, like I said, this is open discussion, because this is just shooting the breeze about it. So
I feel like this is a very deep draft. I feel like this is one of the deepest drafts in recent years.
Right.
Because I like watching the draft just because you see the young players that come into the league.
Mm-hmm.
I also like watching high school basketball because you see young players as they grow.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of the deepest drafts. There could be people from the second round. Like I was talking to you earlier about one of the Lakers pick that I very much liked. That was at the end of the first round.
Jason Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of players in this draft that I think is very deep. However, there's not a lot of, you could say, parity in the draft, like a discrepancy.
Yes. Yeah.
With like what Danny Ainge said about when he switched down to 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's not very a discrepancy between 1 and 3 or 1 and 5.
It's not. I mean, it's a matter of who you getting and with most teams, they're usually going to draft based on 2 factors. They're drafting based on what's the best player available as well as the heaviest need for that team. One pick. So another pick that was a very low pick that surprised me was Jared Allen to Texas.
He went to Brooklyn, correct?
Yes.
I feel like they did that to get him there so he can grow with D'Angelo Russell, kind of.
True. Okay.
Maybe that was what they were thinking with that. To get a big with a guard.
All right.
So something of that nature.
Okay.
It surprised me as well too, because it's not someone who's going to make an immediate impact.
Nah, yeah, because he's pretty raw from what I've seen. I mean, the few games I've caught of Texas, he's kind of just. He's kind of trying to build his mold, and it was like he kind of made it clear from when he got to Texas, it was a one and done for him already.
He's very lanky,
mm-hmm.
athletic, and he's definitely a project. However, let's be real. Do we see the Nets going to the playoffs anytime soon?
No.
So,
to add to that, because so this is gonna be the 6 degrees of separation, since I do have a Lakers fan on the podcast. Before the draft, I believe it was 2 days before the draft, 2 or 3 days. Was it that Monday or Tuesday?
I believe it was Monday night.
Okay, Monday night. Huge story broke that D'Angelo Russell was. You're happy for this. I already know why, because we're gonna go into that. D'Angelo Russell and your favorite center Timothy Mozgov were let go by the Lakers and y'all got Brooke Lopez. and we're able to get a draft pick with that as well.
Yeah, we traded D'Angelo Russell and, as you said, Timothy Mozgov for Brook Lopez in the number 27 pick.
Right.
The trade mostly was just to get rid of Mozgov's contract, which was definitely a dumb contract from the beginning.
Right.
And they had to get rid of an asset with D'Angelo Russell just so someone else can take him.
Yeah.
Luckily, Brooklyn's always trying to help people out.
Yeah.
Like they did with the Celtics.
With the Celtics, and the Celtics will benefit likely from it next year because I think Brooklyn doesn't have a lottery pick next year either. So.
Yeah, they switched their next year as well too.
Yeah.
And we got Brook Lopez out of it as well as the number 27 pick. Mm-hmm. And we were able to actually get 2 more picks because we were able to trade a pick because of that. So I definitely feel like it was definitely a great move that we had made. Okay. And it also opened up cap space for next year where we almost have enough room to get 2 max players.
Right.
So I think that's something that's was a great move to make. As we know, Paul George wants to go there. Right. They're saying
Paul George, the potential LeBron James story.
However, it's a very deep free agency class because LeBron James, nobody knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of, because it can switch any second. And then you also have, like, this year's free agency class is interesting because both Blake Griffin and CP3 opted out of their contracts.
Yes.
So they're going to be kind of testing the market. And I mean, in their case, I think it's more or less to get your best cap money that you can get from a team as well as possibly make a run at a title because they ain't got much. I mean, Blake has a few more years, but Chris Paul is kind of getting close to it. Like, father time is creeping up.
Yeah, that's true. If they bring him back, like, at this point, like, what's the definition of insanity when you're just doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? That's just the same thing over and over.
Right.
And no different result. Out of this draft, who do you think had the best draft? What team do you think had the best draft?
I feel like the Kings actually came out with some good picks in the draft. That I think the Kings would be my biggest shocker.
I would actually agree.
Based on who they were able to pull, because they pulled a lot of guys that I was like, they got quite a few. I mean, it was mainly on a who was available and what worked out for them. So the King, I mean, obviously, now we're turning back to him. You're getting they got De'Aaron Fox. They did get Zach Collins. Zach Collins is going to be a project, guaranteed. Actually, and he obviously was traded. Yes.
Yeah, they traded Zach Collins for 2 more picks.
Okay, so they did, and if I'm thinking right, they ended up getting. So now they traded a project for a project, and I'm not saying Harry Giles in a bad way is going to be a project, but I feel like Harry Giles, you're taking a risk with him based on his injuries.
I feel like he's a different project. He's more of a risk.
Right.
High risk, well, kind of low risk because he's a late first round pick. So low risk, high reward. So if he ends up being great, great. But nobody really expects somebody in the late first round to be a great player. You can't name more than a dozen or half a dozen. So I feel like that was a great pickup, as well as they picked up Justin Jackson, who's a good wing.
Yep.
Who's actually has got a shot better as well too.
Yeah.
As well as Frank Mason because they needed point guards. So they got a good starting point. I feel like he's going to be a starting point guard, of course. Yeah. De'Aaron Fox. And he can kind of actually change the culture there.
Because having those 2 guards actually works out good for them because you have...
They're both tough.
Yeah, you got De'Aaron starting. Yep. He'll run, De'Aaron was picked for Sacramento to start. If he doesn't start, it's going to be something weird.
I can't even name their point guard.
Yeah, you got me. I know they have...
Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
They got Willie Cauley-Stein. They got Scala this year.
Yeah.
So they have a little bit of talent around. However,
just need they need a true coach that's gonna get them over the hump. And I mean, it's you're in
Carl there.
Yeah, so right now it's evident that rebuilding is priority number 1.
Definitely.
So now you know where I'm gonna go next. We're gonna go ahead and get our superstar OD story out of the way since Lonzo was chosen as the obvious number 2 pick.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though he's being set up for success, or do you feel like it's going to be a huge target on his back because of him going to LA?
Well, whenever you go to LA, there's always a big target and there's always a lot of pressure on you. Mm-hmm. Just look at D'Angelo Russell a couple of years ago. There was pressure on him even though Kobe Bryant was kind of shielding him from that pressure because, the target was always on Kobe Bryant with his farewell tour and everything.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him already. Mm-hmm. His dad adds a little bit more pressure as well, too, because he talks so much.
Right.
Also, he's just a rookie, so anybody who, any other players who are veterans, they always go after rookies anyway, so that's not going to change anyways. However, I heard this said by somebody before too, that 82 games is a long season.
Yes.
In which case, people try to make new things up for motivation.
Oh yeah.
So with him, it's going to be easy for them to make no motivation, like to play against him on game 55.
Right.
Just thinking like, what did his dad what his dad said? He's so great.
Remember Steph Curry gonna go at him in this? Yeah, true. Yeah. That's right. I give you that. All right. So we dodged. So I'm dancing with questions because, like I said, I'm gonna. There are a lot of I'm wanting to get through the top 14. With the players and look at what was discussed. Laura, go ahead.
So let's go to I saw this on the show. They kind of make him like a soap opera, which I feel is kind of funny. Yeah, it's kind of fitting. If I say that soap opera and a team, what team do you think about?
The Knicks. The Knicks. The Knicks are definitely. So the Knicks are a unique situation. We talked about this before the show, and I always make sure, like, this is an improv. This is an improv yet interesting story because I think it was like I talked to Dimitri. I was like, all right, I got topics. Really haven't said, all right, well, let's sit here and we're going to chuck it up and talk about it. It was like, all right, this kind of going to be a podcast that runs itself a little bit, at least on the draft side. So the Knicks ended up getting Frank Nictolina. I'm not even going to try to. That's the best closest you'll get.
That's pretty close.
From France. He's 6'5". He's not. I mean, you really don't. When it comes to getting international players, you're not going to get many highlights. Now, in the Knicks case, as most teams. Well, I'm not going to say as most teams. Let me just be straightforward. With the Spurs, normally they'll get a player, and the first year or two, you don't see him. In this case, unless something different happens, I see him playing next year. Sometimes it could be contract agreements, things of that sort.
I believe he's playing next year.
Right. So we'll put that story out of the picture for the Knicks. We're going to talk about the behind-the-scenes story. So before the draft, of course, each team has workouts, and they invite various players from the team to come in and, hey, let me show you what I can do. Here's my jump shot. Here's my running. Here's my stamina things, X, Y, and Z. Well, they didn't mention the actual player's name, but one of the top 15 lottery prospects stated that while he was doing his workout, Phil Jackson was in attendance and he fell asleep while watching his workout. That tells you a lot about the Knicks right now.
Maybe he was just, shutting his eyes just to get a quick rest in.
Now, as long of a Lakers fan as you've been, as he was leaving LA, health was playing a role into his career, and I think this is what this ties into. But the joke that you throw, and it's not me downplaying it because trust me, I was like, this man fell asleep while he was like, this is somebody who's trying to come to your team and play, and you're falling asleep.
What I thought was funny is if you go back maybe 2 years ago when he first went to, or 4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
When he first went to the Knicks.
Right.
How Lakers fans, including myself, kind of wanted him to actually be our president of operations.
Right.
How thankful are we now?
Yeah. What a difference.
We haven't been great anyways, but still.
Yeah.
But still, they're going a lot in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that he's done right since he's got there was picking up Porzingis.
Right.
Let's be real.
The unicorn has been the biggest acquisition.
And then there's been a lot of talks lately about how since he missed his exit meeting, now there's talks about maybe he may be trading him, or there's been talks there's been talks about trading him.
Yeah.
And then Phil Jackson comes out 2 days later and he's like, "Yep, that's pretty much it's pretty accurate." There's an exit meeting, and when a player misses an exit meeting, people start to think, where's the
speculation?
Instability. So let me go ahead and give him a call. So we've been taking calls, we've been listening. We're not intrigued yet. Mm-hmm. And then he also made up a point where some players miss or don't show up to exit meetings with other people. Mm-hmm. Nobody's ever done that with me. So kind of things like it's an ego.
It's like a battle back and forth. Yeah.
And he's trying to scare him and things of that nature. But it's like, you can't really trade the person who. The reason why I just don't get it.
No, I 100% agree. I feel like Phil has lost touch with basketball, and it's not intentional. It's just it's what we just like we talked about earlier with Chris Paul. Chris Paul, of course, is a different situation, but in this case, it's the Phil Jackson who played for the Knicks versus the Phil Jackson who's managing the Knicks. You're getting two separate hemispheres, let alone
also coaching too.
Coach wise, yeah.
I feel like he knew what he was doing coaching.
Yes.
However, you can't be the president and tell the coach to coach a certain way.
Right.
Try to get players to fit that certain system.
Because you can't throw Carmelo in the triangle offense if he's not comfortable.
The coach has never coached that system. The coach barely knows that system, so he's learning it along with the players, like asking questions like, "Hey, do you know what he's talking about?" Because I don't know what he's talking about. Like,
so we're gonna wind the clock back just a smidge, because I believe Kerr was a candidate.
He was.
He was. So
he declined.
So you know what I'm about to ask then. If he had taken that offer, what may have changed? What possibly could have changed now? Do you think Golden State would have?
Let's say if Kerr was on some nice. Let's say if Kerr was on something.
Yeah.
And would have taken that job.
Right.
Obviously, Kerr knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
Not taking that job.
Because I think at the time that was when Fisher took it, right?
Yeah, that was when Fisher took it.
Yeah, and that was a fail in the making, but okay.
Yeah, definitely. A coach can only do so much.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, but I just look at it as, I think,
especially if he has to follow what Phil Jackson's saying, like do the triangle offense and things of that nature. Like,
right.
The Warriors do nothing of the triangle offense. Maybe they have a couple sets that are kind of like a little bit like it.
Yeah.
However, they don't just mainly focus on the triangle offense. It's more about I just don't know.
No, I got you. Especially
with the moves he's making too.
I got you. What's my other spin-off? Okay, so that's part one of the Knicks, because I don't want to leave this part out either, because this is relevant. So of course we had the pre-draft, we had Phil falling asleep, whatever, no big deal. Now, fast forward to the draft. Now I'm still trying to understand the story, because it doesn't make sense to me now, and it didn't make sense to me the night of. James Dolan is a member of a band. Mm-hmm. Coincidentally enough, his band had a performance the same night as the draft. Question number one for me is, why would your band schedule on that day, knowing that that's the date of the draft, or get booked for that day?
I don't know if he really wants to be an owner.
I think it's a show. Oh, it's definitely a show for him, because it's been a circus, especially with the Charles Oakley thing.
Because if you take it back even a little bit, if you take it back further to when Phil Jackson was first hired,
right?
The Knicks fans were actually about to stage like a protest
to get him out of
to get him out of there.
I do remember that.
$60 million at Phil Jackson's like, okay, he's gonna run the show now. So everybody's like, okay, maybe Phil Jackson can turn this around. Phil Jackson's made it go backwards. If anything,
Phil has been. This is probably going to be a heavy statement. Phil has ran that team into the ground, and I mean, it's making the Lakers look like gold right now.
Knicks fans should definitely start to boycott, in my opinion.
Right.
To get both of them out of there, because obviously they're not taking them anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
Unless you want to say back to where the 76ers were a couple years ago.
Yeah, when we were trusting the process, and you see Sam Hinkie had no job, right?
They don't know what the process is.
Okay. As I stated, there are going to be some pauses and some restarts, so we're just going to pick up with the past where we left off, talking about addressing James Dolan and his choices and decisions, and then possibly, the possibility of boycotting would be the greatest, smartest, most logical idea to do. But he did schedule a band performance that night of the draft, and when the Knicks made their selection, he was not made aware of it, or he didn't find out about it until after they made their pick. So this is kind of the confirmation that there's a lot of tension and a lot of, I want to say hostility, but there's a unique circumstances going on. Yeah, dysfunction in the home of the Knicks franchise. All right, it's so many players that I can talk about in this draft, because we
the trade with the
let's do trades, because my one pick now, I will give you, before I do that, I'll give you one wild card, because this one is still, I'll say two. Dwayne Bacon I knew wasn't going to go very high anyway, but he went 40 to Charlotte. Yep. And Ivan Robb, he was a unique situation because he's a sophomore. He was a sophomore and left Cal. He was supposed to, everyone was looking for him to come out last year, and he didn't.
He would have been a lottery pick.
He would have been a lottery pick. And now for him to not go, to end up going 35th to Memphis. Memphis might work for him now.
He's definitely a good fit for Memphis. Just because the fact that the way that they play.
He has a low-key gritty play to him. So that's the reason I'm looking at that as a huge thing. I believe Isaiah, a couple of guys did not get drafted. Isaiah Briscoe. All right, like I said, I'm gonna be pausing and playing, so we're just gonna let it happen. I did know now one high pick. Oh, all right. Pick wise, I'll tell you like this: if it's a lot of players that did get picked higher than expected, a lot of players who were lower than expected. If you did or did not watch the draft, we have the links for both, for not only the rounds 1 and 2, but also kind of an overview of each draftee grading based on Bleacher Report. So there were quite the fair share of trades that happened to benefit the draft. We'll talk about the biggest one after, because I want to talk about the Dwight Howard trade first. Because Dwight Howard, it was a unique circumstance because Dwight Howard was going back home. Because he was.
Well, what makes it even funnier, right? More funny, I mean.
No, you good.
Is so the night it happened, I believe it was also Monday night.
Yes.
Night, he was actually on Twitter that night.
Talk about all these trades.
Saying, let's get started with trade suggestions.
Right.
And please be nice.
Yeah.
He stated that, right? In his Twitter. Five minutes later, he ends up getting traded
to Charlotte.
And he goes ghost, and he's not on anymore. I just think it's
you
funny.
Sometimes should never. And it's like you shouldn't speak things into existence. Literally, he spoke. He planned and prepared his future.
Yeah. He got traded for. If I'm not mistaken, it was Miles Plumlee.
Yep.
As well as Marco Bellinelli for the 31st pick.
Yep. Close enough, yeah. 41st, we ain't numbering. We not numerically challenging that, but yeah, it was the 40. No, you're right. It was 31st
for the 41st pick. Yeah, for the 40 and the 41st pick, and then the Charlotte Hornets got Dwight Howard as well as the 31st pick.
Yep.
So it was kind of like he got traded kind of for like pieces, parts, and a
for
washing
nothing.
machine.
Right.
Pretty much. I feel like it's good for him though because it lowers expectations for him.
Charlotte is a smaller a smaller I don't want to, how can I term it, not franchise, they're like a smaller not fan base, like it's almost as though like he doesn't have as high of matter of fact, here's the perfect way to look at it. Orlando expectations were high but not extreme. LA expectations were
because he wanted to go to LA, so the expectations were up there. He signed with Houston as a big free agent.
Yeah,
Atlanta was him going home.
Right,
so it was a big he wanted someone went at home.
So this is like the smaller. It's the market. That's what it is. This is a better market for him. I was brain. Sorry, it's Saturday, and then with these random announcements, I'm not just. I don't know. But no, in all fairness, I think this is gonna work for him. Right now. He hasn't played an All-Star game in a couple of years, and his back is still not 100% from what I can perceive. I know it may not be said in this story, but in so many words, that's kind of been like the biggest scare, the biggest worry with having him on your team.
I also think that he kind of doesn't know what he wants to do. He wants the ball so much, but it's like it's not that game anymore. You're not Shaquille O'Neal.
But you don't want to be Shaquille O'Neal.
You just need to go out there and be you. Go out there and get blocks. Get rebounds,
have fun,
dunk the ball, get oops. You'll be good and you'll make money that way. That's how Tristan Thompson, who's a lot less talented as you, not as big as you, was over here making $80 million on a 4-year contract because he was able to maximize what he was able to do.
Yeah.
Now, if you were doing that, you'd make more than what he was making.
Because you shouldn't a player in the NBA should never use the "I need a star" excuse as to why they can't go to the next level because. Dwight Howard had James Harden, and James Harden was rising to become like the MVP talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk. I didn't, and I don't have it in this week's podcast because the show comes on next week, and I don't know if I want to watch it because the award show they're supposed to be showing that. I got my thoughts about that. We'll save that for next week, of course, but.
It's on a Monday if you want to watch it.
Right, if you want to catch it, it will be on Monday. Of course, like I said, it will be consuming a little intro of the show next week. But right now, Dwight Howard comes in a good place. On the other side of it, Miles Plumlee, you can't go wrong with any Plumlee brother. I mean, they kind of do. They're kind of like a role player,
and they know what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. And I mean, Bellinelli obviously is a shooter in his own right. So
and they're obviously rebuilding as well too.
Yeah, Charlotte. I mean, well, Atlanta's heavily rebuilding because they still don't know what Paul Millsap's going to do.
I think that kind of makes it still like Paul Millsap's leaving. The fact that they just went ahead and traded away Dwight Howard.
Right. So it's kind of like starting over. I mean, last season you lost when Teague left, that kind of made it clear from the beginning.
Yeah, they don't have, once they lose Paul Millsap, they don't from like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When they had, I believe it was 4 people in the All-Star game.
4 All-Stars, yeah.
Or it's 4, right? Or was it 5?
They had Millsap, Horford.
And was it Teague?
And Teague. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, then all 4 of them in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
None of them are going to be there anymore.
Right.
Once Millsap leaves.
Yep.
So they're definitely going in a different direction with what they're doing.
But it's almost like history repeating itself a little bit too, because if you look back with Atlanta, remember when what's my man's name? You had Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, Bibby. Now these weren't all stars, but they were all like key.
Johnson and Smith were.
Yeah, Johnson and Smith, but I think Bibby was kind of like at the end of the career.
Yeah.
Horford had just came in. Marvin Williams was kind of establishing himself, but he really didn't. I think, and that's another thing. I think Marvin Williams is still with.
He's with the Hornets.
He's still with the Hornets. So I mean, you kind of have like pieces in place, and I mean, of course, you got Kemba Walker. So.
And now with Malik Monk as well as Dwayne Bacon too.
Yeah, so it should work out for him pretty good in that regard. Now the big trade that no one saw coming, but it was taking long enough for it to finally happen. Do you want to take lead on? I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna pass this one to you because this is a cool one.
So it was the trade. So the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler, and the 16th pick to the Timberwolves for Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, the 5th pick from last year,
right,
as well as the 7th pick from this year. So with that trade, I didn't like how the Bulls. I said this to you earlier. I didn't like how the Bulls added in their 16th pick. So it's kind of like they swapped picks. Why didn't they just keep their 16th pick and then add the 7th pick as well too? And maybe get another year's pick or something of that nature. Because this is kind of the same trade that the Wolves offered them last year. So I don't get why they went ahead and took this trade, especially when Zach LaVine's coming off an ACL injury. Chris Dunn had a bad rookie year. Not saying he's not going to be a good player, he just didn't have a good rookie year.
Chris Dunn had a very quiet rookie season.
They said statistically he had one of the worst rookie seasons ever. Yeah,
I can see that, and I'm sorry. Before we continue, Chris Dunn, we're not putting you under the bus. Don't
he
come.
Good defensively.
Yeah, don't come for our podcast. I'm not saying nobody are throwing shade at anyone as far as their play, but Chris Dunn was. I mean, for you to and this is where I ain't gonna say you get low quality, but it's kind of like risk reward. It's the risk reward discussion when it comes to picking players, because we could go back and I'll look at the current draft as a prime example. Let's see. We got everyone who was picked up as far as on your first round. Okay, Fultz, you don't know. Fultz in Philadelphia is going to be the go-to guy. But you still have Simmons, who's going to be coming off injury. Hopefully he plays all season. Embiid, you don't know if you're going to get a full season.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through everybody. If I was to look at this draft, the Chris Dunn of this draft, and it's a question mark because we don't know, is Jonathan Isaac. You don't know what you're going to get out of him.
I feel like that's a little bit.
That's a put. Is that a reach?
A little bit, because Jonathan Isaac at least has still a little bit more height.
Yeah,
he has better jump shot than him.
This is true.
Because Chris Dunn's jump shot was straight terrible coming out of college. He was 21 or 20-something%.
Yeah,
shooting from the 3 and 30-something% shooting from 2.
Yeah,
or overall. Period.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I'm trying to. I guess I'm just trying to see who would be. Well, I mean, of course.
He was actually, I feel like that actually is a pretty good one, just because he was kind of questionable and he's highly touted. A lot of people kind of wanted him.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Jonathan Isaac, where he's good on defense. A lot of people kind of wanted him. However, I just think Isaac is already a little bit better and has better potential.
Right.
But I see where you're going with that, though.
Yeah. I mean, this is so. Like I said, when we talk about things like this is not a right. For me, it ain't a right or wrong. It's just because it's a lesson. It's a learning curve with me, especially with how last year's draft had a very unique view to it, because it was Ben Simmons.
It wasn't as deep, yeah.
Right.
It was Ben Simmons and then Brandon Ingram and then everybody else.
And then it was like Ben Simmons didn't play at all during the regular season because he played summer league and was out.
Yeah.
Then Brandon Ingram played, and I think he was averaging about 5 a game.
No, I think he ended up averaging like 9 a game.
9 a game. Okay,
on 28 minutes, which is still like.
Yeah, because they really didn't.
Because
he was trying to get into the rotation is challenging. Now with this coming draft class, you have Lonzo. Is going to start. Fultz is going to start. Tatum may start, but it may not be. It's going to be a minute.
Quality minutes.
Yeah, he'll get key minutes. Josh Jackson, getting the green light. Like,
starting.
It's a guarantee. Fox is going to start.
He can get a green light as well, too.
Yeah. Fox has to start since we still don't know who the point guard is. Isaac, you have...
that one's questionable. I don't know if he'll start because Aaron Gordon's over there starting.
Right. And marketing going to Chicago, it's up in the air. Nick Tolino, it's...
Probably start.
Yeah. And then Dennis Smith. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Devin Harris is still with... Dallas.
I could see Dennis Smith starting though. I could see him maybe possibly taking
some time. Yeah.
End up getting the starting spot maybe by the end of the year.
Right.
Because he's somebody who last year was his first year off of ACL injury.
Yeah.
They generally say it takes you a year to finally get back to who you actually truly are.
Right.
Zach Collins not starting. Malik Monk may be able to earn it sometime.
He could. Yeah. Because it's how they run that off. Yeah, it's gonna be how they run their offense too.
Other than that, you don't really see a starter. Maybe Donovan Mitchell, but not really.
Yeah.
Or maybe Justin Jackson at 15.
Right. Yeah, this is true. Because
past that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
starters though.
Yes, it's pick and choose. It's pick and choose on how, and then it's like, okay, you started, but then in you starting, how much did you average a game? Things of that nature.
I see a lot of people making like an impact as rookies. And remember earlier, I was talking about how the Celtics they didn't want to make a move, and they didn't want to do something with a lot of picks that they have.
Yeah.
What I was referencing is Jimmy Butler. Like they could have made a trade. Why not offer the 3 pick?
Yeah.
As well as maybe a next year's pick or something of that nature. Like remember earlier I said the Celtics have either one of the 76ers pick either from next year, or from the following year. They also have the
Brooklyn's picks for like the next eternity.
And they also have other picks as well too. So it's like, why not make an offer, trade a couple picks, maybe get rid of Jay Crowder, or Marcus Smart, and get Jimmy Butler in return?
Yeah, that's true.
And obviously the Bulls aren't really that capable of making a good trade, so I'm pretty sure you could have traded less than that. You could have probably traded like Jay Crowder, 2 picks, and still got maybe a pick back.
You're right.
So I just didn't get what they were doing with that.
Do you see Rondo being there next year?
No, I think they're in full, complete rebuild mode at this point.
They'll probably give Wade the minimum.
I think they're gonna buy out Wade.
Buy Wade, let him go,
and then Wade will probably maybe re-sign with somebody else, a contender who actually has a chance at winning.
Does Valentine get the green light now?
Valentine
for Michigan State.
He's gonna get more playing time.
Yeah,
he's gonna get more playing time. I feel. I don't know. Actually, yeah, because there's no 3 there anymore. Because Doug McDermott's gone as well too.
Yes.
So yeah, Valentine's gonna get more playing time. So that's gonna be a young team, definitely bottom of the conference. Fighting for
that infamous 7, 8, 9 scenario like we always deal with the East each year.
Definitely.
All right, I'm like tired. No, I'm not tired. I shouldn't. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. I am not tired. I apologize because that would be a bad way to present the podcast. What do you feel like I want to make sure we don't miss anything because this was like draft wise, and I'm going to say this before I continue. I know with the NFL draft, I kind of gave the NFL draft like, okay, it was an NFL draft and it happened, it was done. NBA is a little different for me because literally I've seen drafts where they can go exceptionally well. I've seen them go horribly wrong.
This one's very interesting.
Yeah, and I've seen even where they showed the story. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where they make the big fuss about how the Knicks sabotage or how what's his name, David Stern made it so that the Knicks could get the first pick in the first NBA lottery.
Was that with Patrick Ewing?
Yep. And they showed like the whole bending of the car. Like it was one breakdown. It's some interesting stories that you learn behind the scenes. Like the guy whose video I watched, because I mentioned it before with Mike Korzemba, he talked about how it was so bad that like right now, even with us doing the draft, when they do the draft lottery, why don't they publicly do the draft lottery as far as breaking down the ping pong balls? They keep it as a secret in this hidden room and no one can be in there. And I'm like,
that's true.
It's not like it's not like it's something that you need to sit and hide. Like, because they made the statement in the reference of like the Lakers getting the second pick. And it's like, yeah, the Lakers for the NBA's sake, if the Lakers didn't get their top pick, that would have been a huge, heavy story for media. Plus,
definitely a butterfly effect where it would have changed a lot of things.
Exactly, because you may not even have Lonzo Ball going too. Just something to think about.
Yeah, but as you're saying, you didn't want to miss anything with this draft. What I thought was a very under the radar move, which was a very good move for a team that actually just won the championship.
Yeah,
they didn't have a pick going into the draft.
Right.
However, they picked up a pick by just paying the Bulls $3.5 million, and they got Jordan Bell out of the deal.
That's not
I feel like
bad.
he's a very good rebounder as well as defender.
Yeah. Okay.
He can block shots as well as move on the perimeter, which is something that they very much needed for next year because they don't very much have like athletic bigs besides JaVale McGee. But JaVale McGee's kind of
JaVale McGee.
He has two brain cells fighting each other up in his head. So.
Yeah, it's a battle up there going on. So yeah, Jordan Bell was a huge pickup. I'm trying to see if it was anything I missed. As I call them, the 2K turns 2K. I wasn't sure how high or how low he would go.
Talking about Terrence Ferguson?
Yeah. He ended up going to
gamble.
OKC. Yeah, he's a huge gamble. I mean, I'm not going to ignore or disregard that, but I feel like it was something of a major talk, especially with because highlight wise, you didn't really have any footage or anything of him other than when he played in Adelaide over in Australia. So,
or when he was like in high school.
Yeah. His high school run was kind of a unique circumstance too because you saw him, but it was like because initially he was going to Arizona, then he was like, no, I'm not gonna go to Arizona. I'm gonna just go overseas and play. And now they put him. Of course, he went into the Brandon Jennings, Emmanuel Mudiay category.
Yeah, and Brandon Jennings was okay.
Yeah, Mudiay we still waiting because it's Denver.
Out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a 40-minute rundown of the NBA draft. No, I wanted to, and I told everyone in advance the NBA draft was going to consume a lot of stories because there were stories related to the actual draft. There were stories that were outside of the draft that were because of the draft as to why players were swapped and switched. As of right now, Paul George is still with Indiana. Yes. I don't have it as a tab, but to kind of make you all aware. He wants out of Indiana. He's made it clear. Indiana looks like they're willing to let him go. From observation, it's kind of a given, and it was expected to occur once Larry Bird left. With Cleveland, I feel like it's a similar scenario because LeBron wants to leave. Whether he goes to LA or where he goes to is up in the air, but I feel like part of it too was they fired one of their front office members, and they actually picked up Chauncey Billups, who's going to be I think he's under a 5-year agreement in their front office.
Oh, they did pick him up.
Yes.
Or they
made an offer to him. I'm sorry, because I believe he went for his first interview. Everything went fine. He went to second, and then I think they gave him the 5-year offer to be like in their front office. So
I think he's still mulling it over and debating whether he wants to accept it or not.
Right. Okay. Got you. All right. Well, hopefully we didn't bombard y'all with too much with that story. So this is a bit of a serious story that I truly found intriguing because no one, for whatever reason, and it's coincidental that I made all this talk about NBA, and I'm like, I don't talk about football a whole lot, but this is a serious thing with me when it comes to football. A lot of players have had major issues when it comes to concussions.
Yes.
The concussion protocol is handled very unique when it comes to the NFL. And I'm not gonna. This isn't even a throwing a shade. A couple of years, and this wasn't concussion related, but it was injury related because it changed rules because of it. Tom Brady, when he got hit below the ankle and went down and was out for the rest of the season, it's okay. We're playing flag football with quarterbacks. You can't hit them after so many. After they let the ball go, and it affected in that regard. But players such as linemen, D-backs, things of that sort. Every play, and you've played football, so you understand this very well. I didn't because I was not that good. All right, so like I said, concussions have been a big story, and players getting injured. Like I said, you played football before. I didn't really play. I mean, I played basketball. It's contact, but not as much contact as football. When you're playing at a linesman position, literally every snap you're hitting helmet to helmet. So Warren Sapp is looking to make a huge do something real big, which is he's going to donate his brain to CTE and concussion research. CTE stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. If I'm gonna try to, like, today is not my pronunciation day. Encephalopathy.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah.
That was much better than those first two attempts.
It's just a degenerative disease found in people who have suffered repeated blows to the head.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of like they call it kind of like punch drunk.
Right.
It was initially found with the history of boxing. People with the history of boxing.
Oh yeah. Boxing would be always the biggest one, because if you go back and you look at it, it's been a year now since Ali passed. Muhammad Ali, that was one of the biggest things and concerns with him was he had, you could tell. I mean, you think you're in a ring, especially when they had to throw in Manila. You taking headshots back to back to back, and you still trying to stand and take it. And then even with the bell ringing, they still swinging, and you like, all right, I got to go over in this corner and try to breathe for like a minute or two, and then I'm back in the ring to fight again. It's the same way with football. Like, football plays over, couple seconds, you huddle up, come up with a play,
and hit your head again.
Right, and then some of the players are like, how am I supposed to retain this play when I literally just, and it came down to concussion. Like, the concussion protocol wasn't handled very well with some players.
They say sometimes it can take 8 to 10 years after they start to affect the repetitive, mild, traumatic brain injury.
Right. Now this story, so Warren Sapp, he did play in the league for 13 years. He did win a championship.
Yeah.
And he feels like this is something that's being unnoticed. I'm gonna read a part of the excerpt. I'm not gonna read the whole excerpt because it is on the Bleacher Report site that I have in the show notes. I've also started to feel the effects of the hits that I took in my career. My memory ain't what it used to be, and yet it's scary to think that my brain could be deteriorating, and that maybe things like forgetting a grocery list or how to get to a friend's house I've been to 1,000 times are just the tip of the iceberg. So when it comes to concussions, CTE, and how we can make our game safer for future generations, I want to put my 2 cents in to help leave the game better off than it was when I started playing. One thing that I think about with this, and this came up a couple of years ago, because I think you may remember with the NFL when they had to do a big payout to a lot of players based on, concussions and medical treatment and things of that sort. This kind of ties into it a little bit, because regardless of what you can compensate financially, it's not going to bring back a person's memory. Like, it's players who have played in the 70s and the 80s who are still, who's still not playing but still living and not able to really go through the normal everyday functions.
Yeah, and I definitely understand that. But my thing with this is they sign up for it. It's not like anybody puts a gun to their head and makes them do it. However, the NFL should make them more aware of what's going on with it. They did definitely put it in the dark for a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely hid things in the dark for a long time.
Yeah.
However, a lot of these people do also benefit from the NFL and things of that nature, because the NFL does pay them things of that nature. However, they should make the contracts more guaranteed.
Right.
Like how the NBA does, or NBA, MLB, they make the contracts fully guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, they're fully guaranteed. So they should do the same thing with NFL, where they can cut them at any moment, and they don't have anything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't have to pay them or anything of that nature. So I think that's definitely very terrible.
That's true.
So yeah, with all these injuries and things of that nature, that's something that they definitely should change.
Yeah, one bit of research that I do remember being talked about a year or two ago, and they always bring this up every couple of years, is helmets. Like, they always make sure that the helmets are durable enough to take a hit. That's why when players, I think the NFL got very adamant about that when it got to the point where when players were playing, if a helmet came off, it didn't matter if it was someone running and it was nobody within 10 yards of them. Nope, you got to stop the play. You need a helmet on, because it became a big deal. I'm not sure if we talked about this, and I've learned this now with football, and this is what makes football kind of a unique story from basketball. And I don't know if you ever paid this any attention. And then I'll go into the next topic. With the NBA logo, it's just one player.
Yeah.
It's just the logo of Jerry West. In the NFL, it's the shield, it's the stars, it's about the team. So that means your helmet, and this has nothing to do with the concussion side of it, but it's more or less your helmet's off, you're becoming bigger than the league. And that's already a problem with the league anyway, because they want it to be, we want you to know about Dallas. We want you to know about Washington. We want you to know about this team. Kaepernick. Right, ask Colin. Yeah, and since we brought that up, and it was the latest story, he has decided that he's no longer going to play football. Or I don't know, I mean, I've read stories about it, but I need to really actually get a story that talks about it, and we may do that on next week's podcast, talking about him kind of walking away from the game because he feels as though it's not that he doesn't want to fight the fight. So, all right, so yeah, we were talking about Colin. We were talking about Colin Kaepernick. So it looks like we're doing like a random fire drill moment. It's like, okay, it's a fire drill. Okay, we're back. But yeah, Colin Kaepernick is walking away. He's giving football kind of a break. I'm going to make my best effort to make sure that I have that story in next week's podcast. I think I have my notebook with me, so I'll have that written down because it was. It's a big impact on the sport, and I mean, if you ever want to get the true reference of it, if you watch Undisputed, when Shannon Sharp speaks about anything related to this story with him, you get a different Shannon Sharp. Like, that's the best way to describe it, because he just he lets you know how he feels about it and kind of keeps it moving. So I'm giving this a unique attention only because the event's not until August, but it started yesterday. I didn't watch any of it. I don't even know what the results were from it. But there are a couple of former NBA players, as well as other guys who may have this love or passion for basketball. They're part of this league called the BIG3. And the BIG3 has their tournament going on where it's like a 3-on-3 tournament, matchups playing. Well, we're kind of fast forwarding through the games because the games had to be played to get to the finals and get to the championship. But the championship game is being played at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And right now there is a bit of I guess you can call it a arena controversy between the Conor McGregor and the Floyd Mayweather fight and Ice Cube's BIG3 championship game. So I put this story in for a bit of a unique scenario, but also to kind of just talk about, just to look at it and say which would, like, the obvious answer, of course, is you're gonna have the fight there. But if BIG3 were to have another venue that they could use, because they don't want to do, because I know most of their games are like at Barclays Center anyway. What would be a venue that they could use that would be available that could work to their advantage
for that day?
Yeah,
I don't think they're actually going to try to move it. Try to put it in a different place that day. Mm-hmm. I think what they would probably do is take some money from. Obviously, for them to move, they're obviously going to take some money from McGregor and Mayweather to move their date.
Right.
They possibly may just move it to a different day.
Okay.
Or they're talking about moving it to a different place. Is that what they're talking about? Do you happen to know?
I personally do not have like the specs on it. It just seems like they're just trying to sit, like, from what it's saying, it's like Ice Cube, he's the founder of the BIG3 League. Mm-hmm. He's willing to surrender the date, assuming that they can come to a financial agreement. So the financial agreement is placed. He'll give that date to them, move to, have a different date if they still want to do it at that location.
That's what I was gonna feel.
If they do,
like they maybe want to move it just to a different date.
Yeah, I mean, doing a different date wouldn't be a big deal. Because you're gonna get the viewers for it because you have Allen Iverson as one of your team, plays on one of your teams, so they're gonna watch it for that, regardless of what day it's on. As long as you just kind of make for fans, it's kind of a unique circumstance because they just need to know in advance. So
definitely,
I gave that story kind of a brief tiff because it just kind of hit, but I was, I kind of crossed my mind in talking about it. Speaking of head injuries and speaking of a huge, I saw this story and I was caught off guard, but I was like, okay, it occurred. Tim, I'm hoping I can't pronounce names day. Tim Hogg passed away on last Sunday due to a knockout that he suffered. He did obtain a serious brain injury. He was initially listed as being in critical condition, and later he, then went into a coma. Well, after the initial knockout, he was in a coma. He had been knocked down several times, and he, looked unconscious, and then the referee just kind of called off the fight. The individual who fought him, I don't have it in this article, but I did have the story regarding it. He felt really bad for it because he kind of saw it was coming. Like, because he, if you're in a match or you're in an event, you've been, most, like with UFC, they participate with these people on a consistent basis. So they know, okay, he seems like he having a little woozy moment, but it's not as bad.
And they were talking about how he had been knocked down a few times during that fight.
Right.
So, like, he was already kind of messed up. It seemed like he had already taken some hits. And if you look at it leading up to that too, he kind of looked a little staggery too, and it was time. It
was a match that should have been called way earlier.
When I saw like the last minute of it, it definitely looked like he was like out of it. It looked like he was kind of like out of it, like throwing like, I don't know, like drunk punches kind of.
Yeah.
And then it didn't even look like he hit him that hard when he did knock him out.
Right.
So like, and then he went back and you could just tell he was out, like, because he had a big whiplash to it as well too.
All right, back from our brief commercial break. So and as you all are noticing, I really don't have an opportunity to even say, all right, we're going to commercial. We just jump right into it, and it's just kind of what it is. It's coincidence because my buddy who normally come in and play the video games just came to the door, but he walked back. I'm like, we've been here since 2. Don't do it. We're not doing this again.
Trying to hop in and play while we're here.
Yeah, like snipe a game or 2. Nope, no sir. So as a side note, before he was a fighter, Tim Hogg was actually a grade 4 English teacher at École Bellevue School in Alberta. He was a beloved teacher and staff member. The students did look up to him, and he was an important part of the school community. Following the news that he was in critical condition, they had extended a request for reports, everyone presiding to, assign to the bout, that they'll determine the next steps following the evaluation. It's just a tough instance because, like we were talking about, you kind of can see when something like this occurs, but then even with it occurring, it's not like you can stop it, but it's solely on the basis of the referees and also the control of the situation. Because with these events, it still always comes back to the main constant, the money.
They generally have, like with the NBA, they have a 2-minute report at the end of it. With boxing, they also have a report as well too.
Right.
They actually haven't filed that report as of yet. They're stopping people look into it.
Okay.
Just because of what happened with
the circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like as I mentioned, and as I'm stating positively and honestly, condolences to his family. That is a tough circumstance or a tough situation to be a part of. So I'm going to give you all a lighter story, and I will go ahead and state now, this story is actually from March of this year, but it was shared with me, and it's coincidental because this is one of the few times that normally I'll have a tab, and I'm like, okay, I'm reading from tab and tell you what's going on, but anyone who knows me knows I'm a diehard Kevin Garnett fan. One of my coaches from my job was able to sit down, and I talked with him about things that I'm working on, because I do talk to him about my podcast, so we have a little bit of plug time for that. But he also kind of will give me like different things like music and stuff like that. So he said, I want you to check out this story about Kevin Garnett, and I want you to learn about what they, this trend that started in the NBA about peanut butter and jelly. And I'm sitting there thinking about it like, okay, peanut butter and jelly, I don't see the tie-in, I don't see the link, because I would never even put those together at all. But I guess there was a game that it was in the I believe it was in the, might have been conference finals. But Garnett did request to have, before the game, he requested to have, like, I guess he was feeling too good or something, and he just needed something to kind of get him going.
Yeah, they said it was a teammate. One of his teammates said, like, he was hungry, he could go for, like, or he wasn't feeling well. Yeah, he wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Kevin Garnett, the boisterous Kevin Garnett, was like, yeah, let's go for that.
Right.
And told his man, make him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right.
They had it. He ended up playing well that game and winning the game.
Yeah.
So he's like, let's go ahead and start doing this on a everyday basis. We need to have that in here every day from now on.
Yep.
And then it spread from there. Players who were on that team went
to
to
other
different
teams.
teams.
Yeah.
They spread that,
And what makes it ironic too is that was the year of that PBJ trend. That was either win the championship.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons why they thought this is the something for success.
So and we talked about this off podcast or off show. It's very ironic that this is like one of those unique trends because we talked like the one we always looked at. It was the Karan Butler chewing straws. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of like pregame rituals that a lot of players had. Like my retro one for me always was Michael Jordan with the powder, and it kind of carried over through other players doing that as well. But I wanted to share this because it was like you would never expect that peanut butter and jelly would be like an obsession or kind of lead to being like the household commodity, especially with growing up as a kid. It's like, oh, give me a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're like, oh, I don't really want it, but here it is, like grown men who play basketball. Like you got somebody that has to go, like, hey, we need like X number of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like when they just like, when a performer goes on stage or on tour for a show and they're like, hey, I need 50 bottles of water. An NBA player might say, all right, we're playing in Golden State. We need like 100 sandwiches for the players, and it's like, well, there's only 12 of y'all. Yeah, just make the sandwiches. We need them, and we need those by 6 o'clock. Games at 7. So thanks, we appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So this is the point, and I may have a cut in between this, and if I do, it's okay. This is gonna be kind of like that speed coast part of the podcast, not speeding on purpose, but just because it was a simple kind of cut and dry storyline. But we are segueing away from sports. So I gave you literally an hour of sports, and I hope you all enjoyed that legit hour because we did. I mean, like I said, the NBA was going to be the meat and potatoes of it. With the concussions, it's really a critical thing, and then tying into the Tim Hague story, among other stories that we have discussed. And like I said, everything will be in the show notes for you to read. So this past weekend, and I was upset because the prelims and the qualifiers for the tournament started on Friday. So I couldn't put it into Saturday's podcast because the championship matchups weren't until Sunday. Oh, okay. So that's why it always rolls like, all right, well, I got to just do it the following week. And I always make sure for my fighting heads and y'all who play Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Injustice that just came out, Tekken 7 that just came out, Smash Brothers. They had the event for CEO, Community Effort Orlando down in Orlando, and it's to give you an idea. And it doesn't show it. It doesn't. Well, the logo kind of has a similar look to it. It's in a wrestling ring, and they basically have them compete, in tournaments, and it's usually like best of 3 first, and then when they get to like finals, it's best of 5. And then once you get to the finals, loser has to win like 2 sets, and then the winner, if they just win 1 set, then they they win the best 3 out of 5 first, then they go ahead and win the championship. So for each of the matchups, I'll be honest with you, there's so many players, I'm not gonna sit here and name everybody. I'll just do top 3 for each tournament. In Street Fighter 5, Snake Eyes won. Punk was second. Punk is a big guy in Street Fighter 5. Samurai was unique. Shockingly came in third. With Injustice 2, one of the newer games that was introduced, White Boy was first. Slayer was second, and Sonic Fox from Echo Fox came in third. Smash Brothers 4 for Wii U. Zero was first. MK Leo was second, and Larry was third. Smash Melee, Hungry Box. To give you an idea, I don't know if I've told you this story. Hungry Box, he actually calls himself, like, that's his name as a character, like as a stage name. His main character is Jigglypuff. I don't know if you've ever seen the character Jigglypuff, but it's a little pink character, and the nickname they give it is Hungry Box, and it's a coincidence that that's his name that he goes by. Okay. Plup came in second. That's a new name for me. Axe was third. In Tekken 7, Saint from Echo Fox came in first. JDCR from Echo Fox also came in second. And Anakin came in third. Guilty Gear, Daguro was first. Kizzy was second. Kid Viper was third. Marvel vs. Capcom, Ryan LV was first. Chris G, who's one of the big names on the scene, he was second. And Supermoon was third. and then you had Killer Instinct, King of Fighters, Blaze Blue, Pokken, and the Pokken Tournament. All of everyone who participated, they're all listed on the site. So if you want to check those out for CEO, they are listed. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, whoever wins, they actually get like a championship belt for winning their respective tournament, and then everyone else who participates get like they get a medallion and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we're segueing into our actress of the week. Not actress.
She has done acting. So.
Yeah. So our artist of the week, I was in between about having Beyonce Knowles as artist of the week, because with Prodigy passing from Mobb Deep, I initially was like, oh, I'm gonna do Mobb Deep, and then I was like, but she just had the baby, so let's talk about Beyonce.
There's also somebody else who actually just had had something just passed. His birthday had just passed, as well as a movie had just came out for him.
Who was that?
Tupac.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Okay.
On June 16th was his birthday.
Coincidence. All right. Cool. And a unique story with the Tupac story. So all right. Before we do the Beyonce bio breakdown, because I haven't seen the movie, so if you have,
I have not.
Okay, cool. So we have. So it's
only heard.
Yeah. So it's non-spoiler talk. I have heard what I've heard. Everyone has given their opinions. Everyone's has their irate moments about the infamous. Someone had a cell phone, an iPhone 7 in the movie. What I need people who look at movies to understand is, number one, it's a biopic. Number two, they're never going to do the movie to the T, because it's a movie, not real life. Like, you're not going to sit and look at the story and say, oh, this is exactly what happened back in 1991. Or this is how it all went down in 92.
I think that there were such high expectations on it because Straight Outta Compton, as well as Notorious,
yeah,
as well too. So they thought it was gonna, especially since it wasn't a long movie as well too. So they could have added more to it, made it more detailed.
Yeah.
Maybe ask more people around it instead of just
kind of throwing it out there and kind of leaving out
with Jada Pinkett
like Jada
coming out. Like, you could have asked her maybe about her relationship with them,
Because I know with the Straight Outta Compton, I mean, we're sidetracking, but it's okay. It's my podcast and do what the fuck I want. With I know Tamisha's like, wait, you said what? No, sorry. So with Straight Outta Compton, it was a coincidence because one of the artists, Michelle, didn't like how she was portrayed in the story, and so it was the same thing. I mean,
also iPhones being in the movie,
right?
Oh, you say Straight Outta Compton, but I'm saying with the Tupac movie.
Yeah, with the Tupac movie, same thing. Like, they're like, well, they made a reference to Fetty Wap and this, and I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, was it because his music was playing like in a house party or something,
right?
And he wasn't even out at that time.
Yeah, I mean,
so it was kind of questionable.
Yeah, but I mean, that would require, like, whoever's doing it, like, unless you have it to a T, it's sometimes that's just a tall order sometimes to look at. But as I have always joked in the name Beyonce Sauvage, because it's just a funny little reference. Beyonce Giselle Knowles, coincidentally, she's born on the same day as I. She's a year older. She was born in Houston, Texas. Coming up, she was mainly her big break started with the first, having a single, Bills, Bills, Bills. She did, join with, and I not even coincidentally realizing her cousin, Kelly Rowland, they joined up. They did work on quite a bit of music. Like you stated, she did have a role in Carmen Hip Opera, which a lot of people didn't. That was another one of those we placed in a high expectation. Like, it's MTV, it's a hip hop, breakdown. It wasn't meant to be anything extreme. She performed, she did work, like I said, she worked with Destiny's Child on quite a few albums. It's a coincidence because in this bio, they really don't break down many of the albums. She did marry Jay-Z in 2008, so I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit. She brought out her latest album was Lemonade of last year, which caused a lot of uproar because everyone was on the whole Lemonade and Tea story.
Oh yes. She also was in a couple other movies in acting as well too.
Mm-hmm.
With Goldmember.
Yes.
As well as Obsessed.
Yeah. She did when she went solo, her solo career, to put it bluntly, her solo career catapulted because she
couldn't have became who she became.
Yeah.
Without going solo.
Yeah, because her solo flow was definitely an unexpected hit when it all went down. She did her second studio album, known as B-Day. Well, she did Beyond. She made her she did B-Day. She had the hit songs Irreplaceable and Deja Vu. She made an appearance also on the movie Dreamgirls. I believe you mentioned that. I'm not sure.
I believe you mentioned that. Dreamgirls was first. That she mentioned that. Yeah, her first studio album though by herself was Dangerously in Love.
Dangerously in Love.
Mentioned that.
Yeah.
Then she came out with the I Am Sasha Fierce.
And that's when... So the I Am Sasha Fierce was when the personalities came into play of, okay, this is my alter ego.
Her stage performance.
Yep.
She's definitely known as a performer, one of the greatest performers.
Yeah, she definitely, from what I've been told, because I have not paid $150 to see anyone perform, she puts on a performance when it comes to her
she's
her
the
stage.
Best performer. Yeah.
Yeah. She, did do some private. She did a private. There was a little bit of scrutiny under a performance she did. She did a private concert for Muammar al-Gaddafi back in 2010. She had donated, the money to help victims during the Haitian earthquake. A couple of years ago, she did do her performance on. She performed in the Super Bowl. They made a big uproar because she did do a song. Golly, I can't. It's so sad because I should know the song. Let's see, because I slayed. Hot sauce in my bag. I can't, people know it. Y'all know what song I'm talking about. Sorry. But when she did that song, it was a lot of uproar because it was with it was in New Orleans. It had New Orleans based theme to it, trying to talk about what exactly she was getting into. Mm-hmm. Sorry, it's I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna find this song because I don't like not giving y'all information. Formation. When she made Formation, that was a huge hit. And obviously, Formation was one of the performances because it kind of had a similarity to the Black Panther movement when she did the halftime show. Mm-hmm. And I know as you always do because I always don't do it with the awards. What kind of awards did she get?
While you're looking that up, she so Coachella, the annual festival, annual festival they have with Coachella. Mm-hmm. It's usually in February. Yeah. So it was announced in February actually that she wasn't going to be able to perform at that festival. Right. Ticket prices dropped to 12% just because she wasn't going to be showing up there at that festival, which is a credit to how great she is. You can say.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, we can go back to the awards that she has got throughout her career. Mm-hmm. She has sold over 200 million records as a solo artist. Yeah. And a further 60 million with Destiny's Child, making her one of the best-selling musical artists in history. Jeez. She has won 22 Grammy Awards and is the most nominated woman in the awards history. Damn. She has the most awarded artist at the MTV Video Music Awards with 24 wins. The Recording Industry Association of America recognized her as the top certified artist in America during the 2000s. Right. In 2009, Billboard named her the top radio songs artist of the decade, top female artist of the 2000s, and awarded her with the Millennium Award in 2011. In 2014, she became the highest paid Black musician in history and was listed among Time's 100 most influential people in the world for a second year in a row. Mm-hmm. Forbes listed her as the most powerful female in entertainment in 2015, and in 2016 she occupied the 6th place for Person of the Year.
That's all, and
I'm pretty sure I didn't even name all of her accolades.
That's the main meat and potatoes of what she did. Because she made them. she's made an impact, and it's kind of like, I guess you can almost call it. So this is why I like doing Artist Spotlight, because it's almost like it's a 6 degrees of separation. Because remember, last week we did Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Without Aaliyah, there wouldn't be Beyonce.
Definitely.
Without Beyonce, there wouldn't be a lot of current artists.
She also named her as one of those people who has influenced her throughout her life. So definitely. Yeah. She's also very. She's an activist as well too. Yeah. She's definitely into. She's definitely a feminist. If you haven't noticed.
If you ain't figured it out by now, something's wrong.
She's a feminist as well. She's very pro same-sex marriage. Yeah. She's also pro transgender as well too. For transgender students as well too. Right. She spoke out against Trump's decision. He had a decision that to withdraw the protections for transgender students in public schools. So she's very against that. Right. So yeah, she's very out there and definitely makes her opinion felt.
Oh yeah, she gonna let you know how she feels and where she stand on stuff. Now, and this is like our side piece or side story. She did have her oldest daughter, Blue Ivy, and she just recently had her twins. I believe it was 2 girls. I don't like not knowing stuff. We both looking it up, so give us a moment. It's not on purpose, trust me, because normally I'm usually like on my stuff. So kind of it's almost like they're keeping the names quiet, I guess.
I don't think have they said.
Yeah, it looks like they haven't yet. So we're still in waiting for that information.
Yeah, they want to see the picture. They want to know the gender. Right. The gender have not been out there yet. They just said congratulations to the twins.
Yeah, because I think because there was speculation at one point that they said like Obama may have like accidentally made reference to the kid, their names, things of that sort, but it hadn't been shared.
Yeah, they were very close. They definitely supported Obama during that administration as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know in 2012 was the re-election. So in 2013 when they had the inauguration, she performed.
Yeah, she did perform. Yeah. She sung for that, as well as a couple days later there was they also had something else as well too that she had sang for that as well too.
Yeah, and I think what's a coincidence? She definitely made quite a bit of an impact on the musical scene with her, between accolades as a person, with her kids.
And off of it too, as well as acting, as well as she can dance as well too. Right. She also modeled a little bit as well too. She was on the cover, I believe it was Vogue or GQ, one of those two.
She's, if it's
Tom Ford. She was on the cover of GQ as well. She debuted her runway modeling with Tom Ford in 2011. Yep. She also is a very successful businesswoman as well too.
Yeah, she definitely if there's anyone that you can give, and I'm gonna say it because I don't care. If there's anyone that you reference to that gets a lot of hate and a lot of anger for what they do because of her persona, but still can carry their brand, Beyonce's in that list. Beyonce can, when I say carry, build, enhance, expand, become a brand, her brand literally, and it's nothing against like Destiny's Child. Destiny's Child is always going to be known as a true core group in music, but when it was a venture and her deciding to go solo, it just worked out and happened at a perfect time. And it's been just her focusing on her and her future and her plans on taking the next step. So, shout outs to her, and I all I ask for is that the kids, continue to live and be healthy and successful, and her and Jay-Z's marriage just progress and move forward, because that's what it's about. If she doesn't make any more music, she'll be financially okay. Like, I'm saying it just like that, because it's just the reality of how and who she is as a person. So this is gonna be all right. I'm gonna do two things because I don't have the story as a tab, and I'm gonna be brutally direct with y'all. I'm not doing a tab for it. I'm just gonna make the discussion of it. Prodigy, who's a member of Mobb Deep, he did pass. they're trying to. So I'm gonna give stories. Now this is why the internet is like a win/lose situation, because sometimes they'll tell a story and it's like the story hasn't been fully addressed as to what caused the death. Because the initial cause they were stating was because he had sickle cell. They believe that was part of it. But then there's talks and stating that he may have been, like, it was due to asphyxiation, which is like strangulation, strangulation of some sort. But they're not trying to give the full details of that yet. But I do just want to say or give condolences as a pass for a pass of the week for that occurring. I grew up. I'm not a big hip hop person, but when it comes to hip hop or rap in general, Mobb Deep was someone that I would listen. A lot of people would look at me and not be able to tell like I listened to I was a Mobb Deep person or Mobb Deep fan. So I did listen to, and there's a lot of songs today that are sampled from a lot of tracks that Mobb Deep did back in the day. So, definitely condolences to him, his family, and friends and everyone. So I don't know if we're gonna. I guess we can make this ass of the week, but it's a unique.
There's also another ass of the week. It's too so fast.
Oh no! So what you got first?
So we don't have a tab of it. However, the person who wants to be known as the ass of the week MVP.
Oh yeah, a repeat offender.
Yeah, definitely repeat offender. LeVar Ball. After his son Lonzo got drafted number 2, of course, someone was smart enough or dumb enough, however you figure. Mm-hmm. If you like listening to him, if you find him comical, or if you just are annoyed hearing him at this point.
Right.
They put a camera in front of his face, and they asked him about, what was going on. A couple, quotes that he had said was, the Lakers are going to make it to the playoffs.
Yes, I remember that.
Playoffs this year. Good luck with it. I hope it happens. But
it's possible.
Another one was how he knew that Lonzo Ball was going to be picked number 2. He knew since the time he was 2. That's when he got that.
Oh my goodness!
He was told by Zeus and Jesus and everybody.
And it doesn't help because Game of Zones referenced this so perfectly. Okay, continue.
He said he was told by Zeus and Jesus. And the funny part, the part that I found funny about it is there's LeVar Ball on the throw from camera side. So if you're looking at the TV, he was like on the left. Jeff Goodman, I believe it was, who was asking the questions, was in the middle. Yeah. Lonzo was on the right. Mm-hmm. And when he says this, he says by Zeus and Jesus and everybody told him. Lonzo starts cracking up, so he can't even take his father.
Yeah, because he knows. He already know what he got going on.
So of course, he wanted to add himself in there,
right?
Bring himself up.
Now to spin off of that story, to just be an ironic coincidence. And I believe, I'm not sure we talked about this or not, but there was a talk or discussion made of his middle son, LiAngelo. And he was making it clear like he doesn't feel like he's going to leave. He's going to be a one and done.
During the draft, he actually made a contradictory statement where he said, 2 more years of this, where I got 2 more years to bring my next sons up like one and done. Pretty much he said that. Yeah. So he's kind of contradicting himself. Yep. He's gonna have to work for it. Hopefully he doesn't try to bring him out one and done because he's not gonna make it to the league.
Yeah, LiAngelo. I feel like LiAngelo needs at least 2. I would say 2 or 3 years.
I'd probably say 3 to 4.
Yeah,
and even then he may have to go overseas or go to the G League.
Yay, G League. I believe we talked about that on one episode as far as the G League, and
they actually made some changes to it, so we could probably talk about it a little bit further. Yeah, one of the episodes coming up.
Okay, yeah, we'll get a better synopsis of it because I know it's still kind of in the works. We are a few weeks since we are jumping back to the sports hit. We're a few weeks away since everyone's been drafted. Now comes the fun part: Summer League, yay! Yeah, definitely. Summer League is pretty chill. Intro Summer League isn't too bad. It's when you get to Las Vegas because you get to see the top players like. So
there's Orlando Summer League and then there's a Las Vegas Summer League.
Yeah,
so we'll have fun with that.
Oh yeah. So one guy who has no reason to go to Summer League but has played in it a couple of years. It's been probably about 8 or 9 years now. I think he's been in the league. PG-13 known as Paul George. He has yet to leave Indiana, but it looks like they're already trying to plan, or they were planning out his departure. They had a sale on apparel. Now, not just any sale. This is the literal definition of a 5-finger discount, where you could go on the website and you could get this apparel that it was a hat and a shirt that had PG-13 on it, and it was for free.
Partially for
you pay shipping.
Pay for shipping handling.
Yeah.
At the store though, they just had them on the outside, or you can go up to the counter. Just go ahead and, as you said, $5 discount. Just go ahead and grab it and you can walk out. You can have it at this point. It's pretty much what they're saying. Because at the store, it's definitely for free.
Right.
You don't have to pay anything for it.
Yeah.
Just because they know that he wants to leave, he wants out.
Yeah.
So why are you going to pay for something that somebody who's going to be leaving soon? So.
You're right. So we're going. I'm closing, but this is kind of like the blend. So the PG story will kind of be our cap and closing because
we'll probably talk more about him later on if anything does change.
Yeah, because I feel as though something tells me he will not be in a Pacers uniform by this time, by the draft next year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he'll be traded before the end of the season next year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be before the start of the season.
Yeah.
Because they may try to see what else they can get. However, the Jimmy Butler trade kind of sets up for. So if they got that for Jimmy Butler and they still have 2 years left on his contract, whoever trades for Paul George should get less shouldn't have to trade for less because
he got one. He really just had what's left of this year coming. Yeah, true.
And he wants out. Jimmy Butler said he didn't want out.
Yeah, the Jimmy Butler situation was a unique circumstance, especially with him not really knowing. And then it was a coincidence because they showed like a video on and we tied it back to sports. But this is how we do things.
The same thing.
No, hey, that's what it's all. Sports is my main meat and stuff just kind of comes naturally. But when the announcement was made about him being traded, him and Dwayne Wade were like out on like
Italy or something.
Yeah, they were out overseas, and then out of nowhere the story was addressed, and I'm like, well, don't talk about timing. Like, these guys like really just built a cohesion of some sort, and here it is now. He's gone to another team, but I feel like this, and I'm gonna say this, and I know we kind of like beating the dead horse, but it's the truth. I feel as though Jimmy Butler going to Chicago is good for one unique reason. I don't know why I'm sending him. Let me send him to the right place first. He's being sent to Minnesota because he's going to bring in the leadership role that you really don't have. Because Garnett is there not really per se because he's doing Area 21 with TNT. So he's not as involved with the team. And so because of that, that's kind of going to give him the green light to kind of work on his next, plans in place and things of the sort. So we did a fun podcast. This is a cool one. It was a lot of stoppages. I feel like I got a lot of listening to do because there was a last announcement that was made and I didn't put markers for those, but that's okay.
Kept you on your toes.
It definitely taught me how to use the pause and play feature and record for our software. So I didn't do this at the beginning and I'm slipping, but I'm sorry. If you do want to check out the episodes, they are on Spreaker.com. That'll be in the intro and outro as well, but I do like to promote. If you are looking to do podcasting, Spreaker.com is where I started and it's been my everything. I will be the first to admit I have a friend of mine and this is the first time I'm doing this and I'm hoping she integrates what I shared with her. She's doing a podcast known as Misfit Moms, her and one of her friends, where they just kind of shoot the shit about being moms and also other stories, things they're happy about, and they're just kind of getting their ball rolling, and I'm kind of proud of them because they're making it. They're on Spreaker? They're on Spreaker as well. Okay. And coincidentally, their Twitter handle is the Misfit Mom Blog. Okay. I'm trying to get them. I'm going to hopefully have the solid name because I'm getting her to learn. Twitter and Instagram can't be different if you want to have one page. That way, like with my podcast, if you go to Past Podcasts on Instagram or Twitter, it's the same. You want to keep it universal. So that's what I'm getting her to see. But if you're definitely looking to get some random, inappropriate, and some tabloid stories, because I'm not doing pop culture, I'm sorry. But I throw my little random stories in to kind of get a little bit of a feel towards what's going on. Next week, I'm not even excited to say this. The NBA awards are coming.
Free agency's coming up as well too.
Free agency talk will start to kind of trickle down and see who's going where, who starts making some talk, getting some attention, and I think we're a few weeks away. But football season's coming, and I will admit I know I will get some listeners to return because I know a lot of people are like, all right, basketball's great, but where's my football? So I got y'all covered. But Dimitri, as always, I appreciate it. I got one off-site story we'll discuss, and it's nothing bad, but just some things we're gonna break down for upcoming events. But I do appreciate it as always. Y'all keep tuning in, man. Like, we got more in store.
Yeah, thank you for staying with us.
You know it. All right, y'all have a good one. The Past signing out. Did you make it to the end of the episode? If so, I do appreciate you listening and tuning in. These episodes get more and more valuable, and I do appreciate everyone taking time to sit down and listen to the episode. Whether you're actually listening to it once it's uploaded on Spreaker.com/Brate Podcast, or if you're downloading it and listening to it on your own convenience. If you want to check out any previous episodes, just check out that page. And if you'd like to inquire or provide any information or feedback or suggestions toward the podcast, please send those emails to pastpodcastbt@gmail.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Have a good week and be positive.